basically you vote for your state senator, this guy who your House representative. You vote for the federal senator for your state, and the state house guy. And then there's also like, I also learned they have like the county coroner that you vote for, and I was very confused by that because I was thinking like, how can a coroner role be political? Like, that kind of confuses me a bit. Like, I kind of get it because, you know, there's certain ways you can interpret a death reading. If it's a very controversial case, you can kind of lean with one side because for a political reason. But that's really a niche area. And, like, what does that even mean? Because there's got to be, like, thousands of coroner people across the country that work as coroners that I assume to do the coronation. But there's a head guy for each state. Like, I guess he hires all the coroners or some bullshit. But yeah, I just kind of voted for... I left a couple blank, like, for that... there was a guy who's running on the conservative ticket, or on the Democratic side in Colorado in a state election that says, I'm a conservative Democrat, and I'm pro-life. So I'm like, okay, why would I even vote for you? You're literally just a Republican then, because Democrats and Republicans are very similar on economic policy. But yeah, that's what it's for. We're not getting rid of Dark Brandon yet. That'll be in 2 more years. That's going to be his election. But for now, it's for a bunch of, like, senators and shit. And this is going to be an important one because historically, what normally happens is the party that's in power, which is the Democrats, they end up losing in the midterms usually. So, you know, that's been the case, like, for the past, I think, consistently for many, many decades of American politics. So, but actually those tides kind of got turned in the summer with the whole Roe v. Wade being overturned, with abortion rights being threatened, which boosted Democrat support and polling by a lot. But recently, in the past coming months, it has gone back into Republicans' favor because the reason is literally Americans have no attention span. And everyone's forgotten about Roe v. Wade and just cares about the economy because there's been some economic issues. And Americans are just like, oh, Republicans are good on the economy for whatever reason, which is not inherently true. They just are blaming the party in power, Joe Biden, even though in reality he doesn't have the biggest control over the economy. But they say Joe Biden is the president. The Democrats are therefore bad on the economy because the economy is bad right now. And the Republicans are just like, yeah, vote for us, without actually having an economic plan. But that's kind of the climate right now. I think, so currently Democrats control the House and the Senate by a tiny bit. It's like a 50-50 split, with the vice president being the tiebreaker. And so that's kind of the climate we're in right now. So it's probably going to switch the House for sure to Republicans, and the Senate is kind of a toss-up. It might go to Democrats, it might go to Republicans. So we're going to look at some of the most interesting, most important races that are happening. And that is going to start with the one that I am personally most invested in, is the John Fetterman versus Mehmet Oz debate. Now, I'm going to say something here. I am a huge fan of Turkish culture, of Turkey, the country. I speak Turkish. This is an L for Turkey and for fans of Turkey in America. Because I'm going to be real with you guys, I already have a bias. Mehmet Oz, he is a Turkish-American guy, and his politics suck ass. And yeah, that's the preference. He's the Republican side, obviously. And this is for Pennsylvania Senate. Emphasis on Pennsylvania, a place that Mehmet Oz is not from. He is from New Jersey. Well, originally he's from Turkey, but he is in America from New Jersey. And John Fetterman, who is very Bernie Sanders-like, you know, a lot of Republicans like to use that as a diss to him, actually, which is very funny because Bernie Sanders consistently polls as one of the most popular senators in the entire country. So it's like, yeah, okay, keep comparing him to Bernie. That's fine. I'm cool with that. And I'm cool to say, no, he's very Bernie-like. And I'm a big fan of John Fetterman. But recently in the debate, in like May, I think, maybe? I could be totally off with that. John Fetterman suffered a stroke, unfortunately, and currently he is struggling with communication. He does not have cognitive issues. he needs captioning in order to distinguish sounds, and sometimes, you know, as stroke victims do, he kind of blends words together. But that's it. It's not a cognitive issue, it's a communication issue. But of course, that has severely hurt his chances, and has especially hurt his chances after this recent debate that happened where it was Oz versus Fetterman, where you can tell these stroke issues were coming out. So let's take a look at the highlights of this, and then we'll get more into this race. So this is from that debate. I'm going to play the video and give you guys my thoughts. I might pause here and there, though, but yeah.
Was watching tonight. To share your thoughts on social media, remember to use the hashtag PAC.
I'm running to serve Pennsylvania.
Holy God, why was the narrator so loud or so quiet? And then Fetterman's like, I'm running this, like, audio. This is like, is this local news or something? Washington. This is Washington Post. Get your shit together, guys. Or ABC. I don't know. So it's one of you two. Get your shit together, guys. All right, anyways.
He's running to use Pennsylvania. And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up.
I'm running for the U.S. Senate because Washington keeps getting it wrong with extreme positions. John Fetterman takes everything to an extreme, and those extreme positions hurt us all.
Extreme positions like a $15 minimum wage and legal marijuana, two positions extremely popular across the country, not only with Democrats but with Republicans too. Yeah, really extreme, dumb fuck. Yeah, and having, you know, and I hope they show this in the video, but having the position of wanting local politicians deciding what women do with their bodies, that's unironically the extreme position. So very ironic hearing that from Mr. Mehmet Oz. But anyways.
What we have to do is ensure that we don't.
This video is mixed horribly. I'm just going to keep it quiet, and we probably won't even hear the person asking the question, but it's mixed so bad, and they keep just jump scaring me. So sorry about that, guys.
Increased inflation, and the best way to do that is reduce gas prices. John Fetterman has gone after the energy industry, called it a stain on Pennsylvania.
He has never met an oil company that he doesn't swipe right about.
There should not be involvement from the federal.
Is that a Tinder reference? I think so. That's kind of cool, kind of good, I guess. I don't know.
Government and how states decide their abortion decisions. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive.
That's the moment that killed Oz in this debate, because following this debate, we're going to see the poll numbers afterwards, which is a different thing, but John Fetterman's donation numbers at least went up historically. So, and I think a lot of people think the reason is because of his comment there. And he's trying to actually take a moderate position on abortion. He's trying to fully say he is not for a federal ban, and he's for the states deciding, which is always like the Republican mirage of their opinion when they really want to federally ban it. But he worded it horribly, even in that regard, and says that he wants local politicians in the room there to decide what they should do with the baby, and they should have a say in it. Which, I mean, is what the Republicans want, but when you say it like that, people don't like that because that's not popular. People, even Republicans, are for abortion and for Roe v. Wade in general. So,
if you believe that the choice of your reproductive freedom belongs with Dr. Oz, then you have a choice. But if you believe that the choice for abortion belongs between you and your doctor, that's what I fight for.
Will you pledge tonight to release those records in the interest of transparency?
To me, for transparency is about showing up. I'm here today to have a debate. He keeps talking about Bernie Sanders. You know, 3 years ago, he was on his show and he hugged him and he said, I love this guy. You know what? Why don't you pretend that you live in Vermont instead of Pennsylvania and run against Bernie Sanders?
That's kind of an odd criticism, in my opinion. I didn't really get that, but I get what he's saying, though. Like, he's saying it's hypocritical that he's so against Bernie when in the past he's been cool with him. But the way he said it made it sound Mehmet Oz-based almost. But I know that's not what he was trying to say, though. But
Texas in terms of natural gas production.
I strongly support fracking.
This video is, with the questions, is horrible. Not only is it extremely silent, and it's like, what the fuck are they saying? But it's like, it cuts it off mid-fucking sentence. They just wait till you get the general theme of the question. They're like, all right, cut. Like, they really taken the in 3 minutes to heart. They're really taking that seriously. So, I guess I respect the grind, you know. I kind of feel like that when I edit TikTok videos for this channel, which I rarely do and need to do more, but... oh well, it is what it is.
Fracking, drilling, the piping of that natural gas.
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I do support fracking. I'm the only.
Now that was one of the worst moments with his communication issue, which he's unfortunately getting slammed hard for following the debate by, honestly, both the left and right. Like a bunch of the more centrist Democrat stations are even slamming him. Like, is his brain broken? Can he do the job? Is he capable of thinking and functioning? But yeah, you know, pretty rough. You know, they've both had conflicting answers on fracking in the past, which is why that was kind of a bigger theme in this debate. And that's why the question was being posed. But yeah, what can you do? That was a rough answer, but what can you do? Man had a stroke. Like, come on.
The only person on this stage right now that was successful about pushing back against gun violence and being the community more safe. You know, all he's done is just put a plan up on his website in the last 24 hours.
Part of the problem is that we have taken away the ability.
See, that was pretty good. Like, throughout, I've watched the whole debate. I'm not going to react to the whole debate on this, but a lot throughout the debate, what he says, the substance, is great. It's perfect. A lot of what Fetterman's saying, substance-wise, is perfect. But his delivery, because of the stroke, is really rough. And a lot of the American voters, they don't really care about policy. Let's be honest. They care about that sort of thing and, like, appearances and vibes from certain candidates. So it's not going to bode well for Fetterman, even though what he's saying substantively is really good and really great for Pennsylvanians and what Pennsylvanians would like. Because when it comes to vibes, even when saying that, that's why he has a lot of hardcore support and was beating Oz in the polls by like damn near 20 points or some shit earlier in the race, because he is classically Pennsylvanian. He's a big boy who always is wearing gym shorts and shit. He's very relatable when it comes to vibes, but unfortunately with the stroke, it's hurt him a lot, even though I don't think it should.
Ability of police to do their job, and that's on John Fetterman. Because John Fetterman has taken such a harsh position against them. He's undermined them at every level. I would support Donald Trump if he decided to run for president.
All right.
But this is bigger than one candidate.
My campaign is all about fighting for anyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to get back up again. You know, I'm also fighting for any forgotten community all across Pennsylvania.
Ask yourself.
You see, that's also good for, you know, a lot of people that in Pennsylvania who are stroke victims or handicap victims. That is also going to drive out some voting from that too, possibly. So, and that message of getting up when you're knocked down, because like, even with his performance as it was with the stroke, it is incredibly impressive as a stroke victim. Like a lot, like, let's be real. So it is really inspiring, even though it is a rough performance, you know. So, yeah.
This and others in your family. Are you unhappy with where America's headed? I am. And if you are as well, then I'm the candidate for change.
That dude, he's such a sniveling little bitch, Mehmet Oz. I hate that dude. Like, worst Turk ever. Most Turks are fucking awesome, but because I speak Turkish, I love Turkey, but he is a fat L for American Turks. What up, Ian? It's your mom, I'm your mother, I'm your brother. That guy is big, Chonker. Yeah, he's a big boy, dude. He's a big boy. That's the reason that's the reason they love him. Look at this Chonker. But yeah, that's kind of the debate performance. Mehmet Oz is a demon. He's, when it comes to policy, he is pretty much your standard Republican, like, literally. He's very conservative. So we're actually going to go through just the issues real quick and check them out on Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is based and red-pilled Wikipedia. No, I'm just kidding. So, let's see. Political positions. Abortion. In a Democratic primary debate in May 2022, Fetterman said regarding abortion, that is between a woman and her physician. So, great on abortion if you lean to the left on that. During his debate with Oz, Fetterman said he supported the framework. So, there you go. Criminal justice reform. So, this is one thing he's been getting hit and pummeled on a lot by the right, is that he's gonna let out all the criminals as soon as he becomes Senate, which I don't know how he would do, but they're saying he's really weak on crime, and so, which is not true, of course, so that's kind of one thing that's been hitting and been hurting his poll numbers recently, is they've been putting a lot of money into ads against that. So prison reform is one of Fetterman's signature issues, advocating for more rehabilitation actions. That's what it is. They're like, oh, you don't want to send them to an American prison to rot? You want to rehabilitate them? You just want to let out all murderers. But yeah, environmental issues. Fetterman opposed fracking. He's kind of been back and forth on fracking. He's kind of been like, fracking is cool for Pennsylvania, but we need to wean off of it because it's bad overall. And shit like that. And so that's kind of why the debate was kind of grilling him on that. And they were kind of grilling both because they've kind of both been back and forth on that. Gun policy supports greater restrictions, healthcare. He is a Medicare for all guy. It's a fundamental human right. So marijuana, he is for legal marijuana. I'm skipping this on purpose for now. Minimum wage, he supports raising it to 15. Policing, he's described himself as pro-policing. He opposes defund the police. So, to me as a leftist, I mean, I'm not greatly offended by that, especially in a Pennsylvania Senate race. It's definitely not enough of a reason for me to be like, oh, he's just a centrist guy. Like, I don't even think opposing defunding the police is inherently anti-left wing, but it like kind of is. But, he supports the Black Lives Movement and all that. So he's kind of like, he's more centrist on that, I think, mostly because he's been getting attacked a lot for being low on crime and policing. But that's kind of like a whatever for me. He supports implementing a wealth tax, very based. Unions, he's a supporter of labor unions. He's a big union guy, so that's another extremely based part about John Fetterman. I just don't think defunding them... God, the overlays... Okay, you know what? I need to change the settings. It needs to be not clean. It needs to have a box. Thank you. Okay, now they're going to be easier to read. I just don't think defunding them will make them behave better. Like defunding free education made the shitty teachers even shittier. Yeah, I think simply defunding the police isn't the end-all, be-all of reforming the police. You need a entire reform of their system. And I do think there is a degree. I think overall defund the police is bad messaging, because I don't think any leftist actually wants to fully, flat out defund the police and have no police system. They just want major reform and a more accountable police system. So having this messaging of defunding the police inherently is very unpopular with Americans and polls very unpopularly. So it makes sense. I think something better is like reform the police, maybe, but it just doesn't, at the same time, it doesn't have that amount of oomph with the messaging, But I think there should be, more funding to like away from like the more militant side of policing and more into like the sort of like social worker role, and instead of always sending out a police officer to every situation, some of them you don't need an intimidating police officer with a gun. It's more of a mental health situation, and having more funding go to that, I think, is more so what people mean by defund the police. So yeah, I don't necessarily, I'm more for like moving funding around and reforming the police system. So, that kind of, it kind of makes sense that he's kind of opposed to it, and at least opposed to the messaging here, but he's at the same time, supporting the Black Lives... What the fuck just happened? Thanks, Wikipedia, for just shooting to the bottom. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, the one I skipped, Israel. Now, like, literally every single leftist in America, he is bad on Israel, in my opinion. Now, people might say, you're anti-Semitic for criticizing the state of Israel, but which a lot of people unironically have that take, which I think is stupid. It's like I was mentioning earlier in stream, I think it's the same kind of stupid logic as like the Estonian government this summer banning normal Russian citizens from traveling there for vacation because of what their government is doing, and like the amount of Russophobia going on. Like, you can criticize the government while not criticizing the people or the culture. But that being said, he is very pro-Israel and very bad on Palestinian rights issues. So Fetterman is a strong supporter of Israel-United States relations. And actually, curious enough, so is Bernie. He is very pro-Israel as well. On the other side, they get way too much funding for war on drug shit like busting on. Exactly, yeah. That's why I'm more for like a like not fully defunding. That's why I think it's really bad messaging, but an adjustment of funding and a reform of the system itself. But anyways, on to Israel. Funnily enough, many leftists in America, like almost all of them, are bad on Israel. Not Rashida Tlaib, of course, since she is Palestinian, so that makes sense that she's not. But AOC is not great on Israel. She's very pro-Israel. So is Bernie Sanders, and so is Fetterman. So, you know, this is the main negative for me personally, but he is, when you look at him versus Fetterman, when you look at Fetterman versus Oz, it's a no-brainer. Oz is like terrible. So he's very pro-Israel. He supports including, he supports the Iron Dome funding and shit like that. Yeah, so he's bad on Israel in my opinion. He's not as tough as he should be and as critical. But yeah, it is what it is. Now I'm kind of okay. Now it's gonna. Oh, okay. Actually, the chat setting is fucked because it's just gonna stay there forever, and that's not what I want. So I need to put not always show message, and I'll just do 30 seconds or something on the time to when it goes away. Dude, Ian, you are a huge help on my chat on my stream. I'm learning with you all how to stream. But yeah, anyway, so now let's check Mehmet Oz. So, a Turkish-American dude. He is a famous TV host, actually, on the Oz show or something. I've never seen it personally, but it's like, it's one of those weird doctor shows where he like shills a bunch of products to you during it, and he's like, I'm a cool hip reality doctor. Or at least that's what I assume it is, pretty much. So let's look at his policies, because that's really all I care about. I'm going to be real with you. Abortion. In 2022, Oz announced that he supported overturning the 1973 Roe versus Wade and was against abortion. So bang, worse than Fetterman already. I keep mixing them up. What is wrong with me? Does my like subconscious like low key want the Turkish guy to be the base dude instead because I'm a huge fan of Turkish culture? Is that it? I don't know, but he is an L of a Turk. Sorry to say to any Oz supporters. COVID-19. He suggested that hydrochlorine, a drug typically used to treat neuromatological conditions and as an anti-malarial, could be used to treat COVID-19. Probably not true, but you know, I'm not a doctor. He called for reopening schools in April. You know, not great on COVID from a leftist. He put it the end of getting okay. So he's kind of actually like a mixed bag. It seems as a doctor, he's pro like mask and vax wise, but he was for opening schools. But honestly, who cares? I mean, COVID feels like it's kind of irrelevant at this point, even though I mean it's not. But it seems like a much more controlled situation at this point. So I mean, whatever. Death penalty. Oz said he would potentially support death penalty for dealers of fentanyl. Now that's fucking insane. The death penalty for being a drug dealer, like that's psychotic in my opinion. Like I am pretty anti-death penalty overall. I don't think killing somebody as a punishment of being a murderer is a good premise. Like, you murdered somebody, how dare you? We're gonna show you that's wrong by killing you. And the fact that like having like, yeah, damn, that is insane. Yeah, it is insane. And the fact of like having fucking just like where was I going with this? Like the fact that there's a chance of us executing innocent people, which does happen like fairly like frequently, I think is enough to be anti-death penalty. But even like beyond that, death penalty for drug dealers, drug dealing is like one of like the most rehabilitatable crimes you can commit ever. And, like, so I don't even think you should be put in jail for that. But, like, let alone being executed for dealing drugs, that's just fucking insane, dude. Even if you're pro-death penalty, you should look at that and be like, that's fucking crazy. Which is also ironic how he says, John Fetterman is for extreme policies. Like, that's that's crazy. Death penalty for drug dealers. Okay. He has a substantial number of comments with regards to unions. They were he thinks unions are too powerful. He's against marijuana. He says they're lazy, which I'm proof against. I smoke all the time and I go to work fine. I have missed literally maybe 1 or 2 days of work from being sick, and that's it. And I smoke literally every single day. He's bad on LGBTQ rights. He announced that he is opposed to he is opposed to conversion therapy. That's good, but he hosted and offered support to transgender youth and families on Sheldon's show. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong about that. I guess he's pretty based on that. He's endorsed enacting federal protection of same-sex marriage. He supported legislation to prohibit trans people from participating in sports. So that's a little more on the anti-side, but not like full-fledged anti-LGBTQ, I guess. The whole sports and trans debate is kind of nuanced, in my opinion. So I don't really want to get into that necessarily. He said that transgender youth movement is based on false science. Okay, so here's where he gets pretty unjustifiably fully transphobic. Sports conversation aside. Transgender use is based on false science, so adding that, while not supporting a ban on hormone blockers. So I've kind of noticed with Oz, he's kind of very centrist-y on, like, the areas of the science, because he's like, dude, I'm a doctor. I can't just come out and say that there's no science supporting transgender transitioning, or he can't just fully come out and be like, I'm anti-COVID-19, it's not real, because he's a doctor. So he's kind of like, yeah, get the vaccine, which is kind of funny to me. He's probably the same way on the environment. Well, I know he's kind of been back and forth on fracking, so kind of makes sense. Okay, but anyways, so the poll situation. So as of today, Fetterman is still in the lead, but by like barely anything, by 0.8. So, and I'm going to be honest, I think most polls, like, honestly, worldwide, especially as of late, and especially in America, they really underestimate Republican support. So I like to add like 2 to 3 percentage points to the Republican side when I look at polling. So not great news for Fetterman. So we can see like the biggest gap. He was up at one point 10.7 points ahead of Oz. So he was at one point of 12 points even earlier before that. He is a very popular man. But as of recently, with the stroke and with the flip to being more pro-Republican, it has worked very against his favor. And I just realized I'm blocking like half of that, but that's okay. Yeah, you can see it pretty much there. But yeah, so yeah, that is Fetterman and Oz. Not looking great. That's probably like my most, like, if I could only choose one person to vote for and one race to vote for in this midterm season, it would be voting for Fetterman, because he's really the only candidate I'm that excited for. But he's probably going to lose. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not very hopeful there, but anything can fucking happen. And here's one more thing. Dr. Oz has killed, if anything, if there's any way to reach across the aisle to independent voters or Republicans and Americans in general to show that Dr. Oz sucks in a non-political way, he has killed many dogs. He is a dog genocider, straight up. Dr. Oz's scientific experiments killed over 300 dogs, entire litter of puppies. So, according to a Columbia's internal investigation, found Oz's research team inflicted extensive suffering on canine test subjects in violation of the Animal Welfare Act. So, let's see. In a scandal that will surely make Mitt Romney, who famously strapped his family dog atop the roof of his car for a road trip. What the fuck? What the fuck? When did this happen? What the fuck? Romney's abused dog might have run away in Canada. Yo, this is a rabbit hole I need to go down some other day, but what the fuck? Yeah, just strap him up on the roof. On the roof there. Yeah, we'll get him there somehow. We don't got room in the back for the dog, so Strap him up on the roof. He has killed many dogs. Oz, the New Jersey resident who's currently running for U.S. Senate from Pennsylvania, was a principal investigator at the Columbia University Institute of Health, full scientific administration and fiscal responsibility of the studies over the course of 75 studies published. According journals reviewed by Jezebel, Oz's team conducted experiments on at least 1,027 live animal test subjects that included dogs, pigs, calves, rabbits, and small rodents. 34 of these experiments resulted in the deaths of at least 329 dogs, while 2 of his experiments killed 31 pigs. And you know what this is all for? It's all just to show you bullshit for you to take that will supposedly, like, improve your life or whatever the fuck. It's all, like, it's horrific. So, you know, politics aside, if you want a reason not to vote for Oz, he is a literal dog genocider.